All right, get this. We're talking jellyfish today.
Jellyfish.
Yeah, jellyfish.
Okay.
Get this. They might be using game theory to survive.
Wait, really?
It sounds crazy, right?
Uh.
But there's this groundbreaking study.
Oh, wow.
It's called Strategic Drifters.
Uh-huh.
And it's like turning everything we thought we knew about these creatures upside down.
I mean, they're just like blobs, right? I mean, what do they even do?
Right, exactly. I mean, that's what I thought too. You know, they just got to drift around.
Right.
But it turns out
Yeah.
there's a lot more going on than
Yeah.
meets the eye.
That's amazing. I mean, what's so interesting about this study? Like, what did it find?
Well, the study actually looked at 3 specific experiments, and the first one is called the predator bluff simulation.
Predator bluff simulation. What's that?
So in this experiment, scientists created a simulated predator
Mm-hmm.
with predictable movements
Okay.
to see how the jellyfish would react to a potential threat, even if that threat wasn't like right there, right in front of them.
So it's not like a real predator chasing them around, but something that like
Exactly.
mimics a threat?
Yeah, it was like a controlled way to see what
Oh,
they would do.
Got it.
And
Yeah.
so the results were kind of astounding.
Really?
So 74%
Wow.
of the jellyfish showed evasive maneuvers
Mm-hmm.
before the simulated predator even made a move.
Hold on. So they weren't just reacting to danger, they were anticipating it.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Isn't that wild?
That is wild.
It suggests that the jellyfish weren't just passively drifting along, they were actually assessing the situation and predicting the predator's behavior.
So they were staying one step ahead.
Yeah.
That's amazing for something that doesn't even have a brain.
I know, that's what I'm saying. They don't even have a brain. How are they doing this?
Yeah.
But wait, there's more. Some of the jellyfish actually took this strategy even further.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some of the jellyfish positioned themselves in the predator's blind spots,
Oh, wow.
and they waited for it to move.
So they were using the environment and the predator's movement to create their own little safe zones.
Exactly.
That's not just reacting, that's strategizing.
Right.
That's incredible.
So it's like they're using the predator's own limitations against them.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive for...
So that was the predator bluff, right?
Right, that was the first experiment, the predator bluff.
Okay, so what was next?
So the second experiment was called the Deceptive Drift experiment.
The Deceptive Drift experiment.
And this one
Okay.
kind of explored the jellyfish's movement patterns in more detail.
So like how they actually move around.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the researchers created an obstacle course of sorts
Okay.
with barriers and food strategically placed
Mm-hmm.
to kind of observe how the jellyfish would navigate.
So did they just drift along and hope for the best?
Well, that's what you would think, right?
Right.
If they're just these passive drifters, but
Yeah.
not at all. That's not what happened.
Oh, so they weren't just going with the flow.
No, this is where it gets even more interesting. This is where the deceptive element comes in.
Deception, really?
So the researchers placed food in locations
Okay.
that required the jellyfish to actually swim against the current.
Oh, so they made it harder for them.
They made it harder.
So if they were just passive drifters, you'd think they'd go with the flow, take the easy route?
Exactly.
Okay.
But 63% of the time,
Wow.
jellyfish chose the more challenging route.
They wanted that food bad enough to work for it.
They wanted the food, they put in the effort.
That's amazing.
But there's also this thing, and I read this in the article about these fake-out drifts.
Fake out drifts, what are those?
That's where the deception really shines through.
Okay.
So 41% of the jellyfish engaged in these fake-out drifts, where they would start drifting in one direction, seemingly going with the flow, and then they just suddenly change course.
Like a head fake.
Exactly, like a little underwater head fake,
Oh, that's so interesting.
as if they were intentionally creating a false impression.
So it's like they're trying to trick someone.
It's like they're trying to trick someone, but who are they tricking? They don't even have a brain to understand the concept of deception.
Right.
It's just,
How can they be intentionally deceptive?
it's mind-boggling.
It really makes you wonder about intelligence and how it shows up in different species.
Right.
Even without a centralized brain, they're doing these complex and strategic things.
Yeah, it really does make you wonder, what is intelligence? But, okay, so we've got jellyfish anticipating threats.
Right.
We've got them doing these deceptive maneuvers.
Mm-hmm.
But the third experiment, this is the one that I don't even know,
Okay.
the jelly laugh reflex. This is the one that really blew my mind.
The jelly laugh reflex. Okay, I gotta hear about this.
Tell me more about that.
Okay, so the jelly laugh reflex, this experiment focused on what happened after the jellyfish, successfully outsmarted the predator.
So how do they know they were outsmarting anything?
Well, the researchers defined it as, successfully avoiding the predator's path. using those tactics we talked about, the blind spots, the fake-out drifts.
Got it.
So what's remarkable is after these successful evasions, the jellyfish's pulsation would become more erratic, like they'd speed up. It increased by about 13%.
Wow.
And their bioluminescent flickers, like the light they emit, would also intensify, going up by like 18%.
So it's like a little victory dance.
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, my God.
It's a possibility.
So they called this the jelly laugh reflex?
They did, yeah.
Are you saying they might actually be experiencing something like amusement or joy?
I mean, it's a bold claim.
Right.
And certainly open to interpretation.
Yeah.
But the behavioral changes observed after they successfully dodged the predator are very interesting.
Right.
I mean, it raises the question, can a jellyfish, even though it's simple, experience satisfaction or pleasure from outsmarting a threat?
That is wild.
It's a big question.
But how could they experience something like that without a brain?
Right. That's the million-dollar question. This research doesn't fully answer that.
Right.
But it opens up a whole new area of exploration.
Absolutely.
It's fascinating.
So even without a traditional brain, these jellyfish are exhibiting behavior that suggests a level of strategic thinking and possibly even some sort of emotional response.
It's pretty amazing.
This is incredible. I mean, it's really making me rethink what I thought I knew about jellyfish.
Me too. It really challenges our understanding of intelligence and how it shows up in different species.
Absolutely. And that's just from the first part of this study. I can't wait to dive into the rest.
Yeah, there's so much more to uncover.
This is going to be good.
It is. Stay tuned.
Yeah, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
It's really fascinating how this research challenges our idea of what intelligence even is.
Right. Like, we always think you need a big, complex brain to be intelligent.
Exactly. But these experiments are suggesting maybe there are other ways to be smart, other ways of processing information.
Without needing all those complicated neural structures.
Right. It's not about the size of your brain. It's how you use it.
Or, in this case, how you use what you've got, even if you don't have a traditional brain.
Exactly.
So are we saying a jellyfish could be as smart as, say, a dolphin?
It's not really about ranking intelligence like that.
Okay.
It's more about recognizing that different organisms have evolved different kinds of smarts to fit their own specific environments and needs.
Right, like a jellyfish's intelligence is all about surviving in the ocean.
Exactly. So it's about deception, knowing where you are in space, predicting currents and predators.
And a dolphin's intelligence is more geared towards social interaction.
Communicating, navigating those complex underwater environments.
All right, so different kinds of smarts for different challenges.
Exactly. You can't really compare them directly.
Apples and oranges.
Yeah, they're both fruits, but totally different.
But the fact that jellyfish have been around for so long,
hundreds of millions of years,
surviving, thriving, says something about how effective their kind of intelligence is.
Oh, absolutely. These creatures are masters of their domain.
Yeah, they've evolved these incredible strategies for survival.
It's time we started recognizing that as a form of intelligence, too.
Okay, so this research is really changing how we think about intelligence.
It really is.
But what's next? What are the researchers planning to look at going forward?
Well, there are a few really interesting avenues they've mentioned for future research.
Okay.
One that caught my eye was investigating the, get this, neurochemical basis of the jelly laugh reflex.
Wait, the jellyfish laughing? But how? They don't have brains. How can they have neurochemicals?
That's the puzzle, isn't it?
Yeah.
They don't have a centralized brain, but they do have a network of nerves.
Okay.
Called a nerve net.
A nerve net.
Yeah, and this nerve net allows them to sense and respond to their surroundings.
Interesting.
And it might be capable of producing and releasing neurochemicals, just like our brains do.
So even without a brain, as we typically think of it, they could still have the chemical building blocks for things like pleasure or satisfaction.
That's exactly what the researchers want to figure out.
Wow.
If they can identify specific neurochemicals that are released when the jellyfish do these deceptive things and show the jelly laugh reflex,
right,
it would be more evidence that even simple organisms can experience something like emotions.
Yeah, that would be pretty groundbreaking.
It would really change how we think about the connection between brain structure and feelings.
So what else are they looking at?
Another interesting direction is comparative behavioral studies.
What does that mean?
They want to see if other gelatinous marine species,
like what?
comb jellies, siphonophores,
Okay.
show similar strategic behaviors.
So are jellyfish unique in their trickery? Or are there other masterminds out there in the deep?
Exactly. Expanding the research to other species will help us understand if this kind of intelligence is just a jellyfish thing.
Or if it's a more widespread phenomenon in the ocean.
Yeah, imagine if a whole bunch of these creatures are playing mind games right under our noses.
That would be amazing.
It would.
Okay, I remember you mentioned something about mathematical modeling earlier.
Oh, right. The researchers want to use math models to see if the jellyfish's bluffing behavior matches up with game theory principles.
Now, the Nash equilibrium, that's a bit over my head. Can you explain that in simple terms?
Of course. In the simplest terms, the Nash equilibrium is a situation where everyone's doing the best they can,
Right.
taking into account what everyone else is doing. No one can do better by just changing their own strategy.
So in the jellyfish case, are we saying they're figuring out the best move based on what they think the predator will do?
Exactly. Like in that deceptive drift experiment, choosing the harder path against the current got them more food.
Right.
But it was riskier.
So they had to weigh the risks and rewards.
If their choices consistently line up with the predictions of the Nash equilibrium.
It means they're engaging in strategic decision-making, even though they're so-called simple creatures?
That's the idea. It's pretty amazing.
Okay, so we've got jellyfish potentially feeling pleasure when they outsmart predators.
Yeah.
And they might be using complex game theory calculations to make those decisions.
It's pretty incredible, isn't it?
Mind-boggling. It really shows how much we still have to learn about intelligence in the natural world.
It does. It challenges our assumptions and opens up so many new questions.
This is why I love these deep dives. Always something new and surprising to discover.
It's true. Every time we dig deeper, we find more mysteries.
Well, speaking of digging deeper, I think we need to start wrapping things up for this part.
Okay.
What are your final thoughts on all of this?
This research on jellyfish has been truly eye-opening.
Yeah.
It challenges our assumptions about intelligence and shows us that even creatures we think of as simple can be incredibly capable.
We've seen them think strategically, deceive, and maybe even respond emotionally.
And all without a centralized brain.
It's a powerful reminder that intelligence isn't just one thing.
It comes in many forms.
Shaped by each organism's environment in evolution. It's amazing, isn't it? We started off talking about jellyfish, and now we're questioning what intelligence even is.
It really puts things in perspective, doesn't it? It makes you realize just how much we don't know.
Right. I mean, who would have guessed? These brainless blobs just drifting around, and they're capable of all this.
Strategic deception, planning ahead, even maybe feeling a sense of amusement.
The jelly laugh reflex. It's wild.
It really highlights how much we still have to learn about the diversity of life on Earth.
Absolutely. And how limited our own perspective can be.
We're so used to thinking about intelligence in human terms, but there are so many other ways of being smart.
Exactly. The jellyfish are a perfect example of that. They've been doing things their own way for millions of years.
And they're thriving.
Good.
Clearly, their kind of intelligence works for them.
So what's the big takeaway here? What have we learned from our deep dive into the world of strategic jellyfish?
I think the biggest lesson is that intelligence isn't just one thing. It's not limited to creatures with big brains.
It comes in all shapes and sizes, adapted to different environments and challenges.
And maybe by studying these other forms of intelligence, these creatures that seem so different from us,
we can actually gain a better understanding of ourselves.
Exactly. It's like looking into a strange mirror. It reflects back a new perspective on what it means to be intelligent.
I love that analogy. It really captures the essence of this whole deep dive.
And who knows what other amazing discoveries are out there waiting for us.
Right. There's a whole universe of possibilities. Yeah. And we've only just begun to explore.
It's an exciting time to be alive, isn't it?
It really is. Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap things up for today.
Okay.
But before we go, I want to leave our listeners with something to ponder.
What's that?
The next time you see a jellyfish, whether it's at the beach or in an aquarium,
take a moment to really look at it.
Don't just dismiss it as a simple blob. Remember what we've talked about today.
Remember that beneath that seemingly simple exterior lies a creature capable of amazing things.
A creature that challenges our assumptions about intelligence and the nature of life itself.
Maybe even a creature that can experience joy.
So keep exploring, keep questioning, and never underestimate the power of a jellyfish.
And until next time, happy deep diving.
Absolutely.